So the first thing I heard is that we have 150 future farmers of America. Is that accurate? Okay. Well, to you, most importantly, welcome to Albany. Hope you're going to have a great day. For those of you who don't know me, particularly our young men and women here, I'm John Flanagan. I'm a state senator from Long Island, and I am the New York State Senate Majority Leader. And my colleague immediately to the east is Ken LaValle. And a lot of people have misconceptions about Long Island. There is a ton of agricultural work going on Long Island, all kinds of really good things, and has been for a very long period of time. Less so in my own district, but I am gratified to see so many of our colleagues here today, because this is actually really important. And I'm only going to speak briefly because I want to introduce the lady in charge, as we say, the chair of our Agriculture Committee. You know, when you look at the state of New York, agriculture, I believe, is still the #1 industry. And one of the things I've had the luxury of doing is visiting a lot of my colleagues' districts. Patty was kind enough to invite me up, and I'm not going to go into any detail, but I know a lot of the different things. I milked my first cow, and it was, I think I did it the right way, but I also learned about an issue called snout beetle, and it affects 6 counties, I think, in the northeastern part of the United States, and I'm going to use that as a segue to make the following point. All of our colleagues here care very deeply about these issues, and I'm going to be unabashed and unequivocal. The New York State Senate Republican majority has done more to promote and help agriculture in this state than anybody else. Year in and year out, when proposals come up and they come out, invariably it's the Senate in our resolutions, in what we say publicly, in what we advocate legislatively, that puts money back in that has otherwise been taken out. And here's an amazing thing. I truly believe when we properly fund agriculture, in many respects in the context of the overall budget, it's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money compared to the type of money we spend, but they're wise investments. And with that, I'm going to introduce the chairwoman of the Agriculture Committee and the Commission on Rural Resources. Am I saying it right? Okay, good. A person who I am so gratified to be working with, as are all my colleagues, and that is Senator Patty Ritchie.
Thank you, Leader. First of all, I'd like to start off by saying it's only fitting that we have these FFA students here today, and time and time again when they come to Albany, I know all of us are impressed with what you bring to the table, so thank you. New York farms and New York farmers are the backbone of our rural communities and also the economy of New York State. That's why, once again, the Senate Majority Conference is making agriculture a top priority. We're planting the seeds to support the hard work of our family farms and to grow the future of ag in New York State. In front of you, you will have the Senate Majority's budget priorities for agriculture. They include 4 basic areas. First, we need to restore the cuts in the executive budget. I know time and time again when I'm meeting with farmers across the state, the first thing they tell me is they're able to compete, they're growing because of the research and what they've been able to take back from these programs back to their farms. And we'll hear a little bit about that later on. Next, we need to continue to cut taxes. We need to make sure that our farmers have their strongest bottom lines as they go forward. We need to make sure to expand research. Right now, that's in 2 different areas. First, to make sure that we're protecting public safety with regards to research on the bird flu and also rabies, and also to help our farmers expand their markets. And I know one of those places is with apples. We had Cornell come in and they showcased the 2 new apple varieties, and that's something that's been very positive, but happens in many different areas in agriculture. So if we want to make sure that we're growing our communities from the bottom up, we have to make sure that we're supporting our farmers and making sure they can compete on a global market. So next we're going to hear from some speakers, but I want to acknowledge all my colleagues. I think I have the best job as the chair of Agriculture Committee, because I don't have to call my colleagues and say, hey, will you support this? They're the ones calling me saying, hey, what's the cut in this program? We want to make sure we're there and we restore it. We think it's important. So I want to thank them all for their support and being here. Next, I want to acknowledge we have a representative from Cornell here and also someone from Farm Bureau. And now we'll roll into some of the speakers that this affects directly. I know I have the opportunity to hear from a lot of farmers across New York State, and when they come in and they talk about either their struggles or where they've been able to expand, that is something that's been very helpful to me as the chair of the committee, but also shows the potential for this state. So our first speaker will be Joe Nosaforo. He's an apple farmer and the manager of Indian Ladder Farm in Albany County. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much.
I swear it's not that long. I just have sloppy handwriting. First, I just wanted to thank the Senator and the Ag Committee for inviting me here to speak and for their continued support over the years, particularly of the apple industry. I am from a diversified apple farm. I'm part of the management team at Indian Ladder Farms, and we're located in Albany County. I would like to I'd like to really drive home the point that the research dollars that will be talked about and have been talked about are what allow me to farm. I'm not from a farming background. My dad works for the state. My mother's in education. I am, for all intents and purposes, a first-generation farmer. And the findings that come out of those and the tools that are disseminated from that are what allow me to play the game and be involved in agriculture. And I wouldn't want to do anything else. So I really wanted to say I appreciate that. And I'd also, I guess, like to say thank you, and I won't drag on about it.
Thank you, Joe. The next speaker will be Dale Isla Riggs, who is a berry grower.
I'd also like to thank Senator Ritchie and the Senate Ag Committee for having us here. I'm a berry grower in Stephentown, New York. I may not be a young farmer like Joe is, but I am also a first-generation farmer, and berries are what built my farm. 4 years ago, spotted wing fruit fly, an invasive species from Southeast Asia, arrived in New York State and attacked New York's berry industry. In 2012, the first year that it was here, we lost $5 million out of a $15 million industry. Scores of growers started pulling out raspberry and blueberry plantings. On my farm personally, I lost 40% of my blueberry crop, and I would have lost 95% of my raspberry crop if I had not sprayed every 3 to 4 days. The problem is, I don't want to produce my fruit that way. Most of the products I grow are no spray or low spray, minimally treated, and often treated with materials that can be used in organic production. So my choices were to either pull out my raspberries and blueberries or go to work advocating for research dollars for Cornell researchers and extension workers to help the industry come up with ways to manage this pest. Thanks to Senator Ritchie and the Ag Committee, we received funding to do just that. What resulted has been one of the most satisfying experiences of my entire life. Working hand in hand with the Cornell berry team, both researchers and extension, the New York State berry growers have developed and extended to the industry already short-term and medium-term solutions that are helping New York growers manage this pest while we work on a long-term biological control system. We've also sown optimism in the berry industry. On my own farm, 3.5 years ago, I was ready to pull out my raspberries and wondering what I would do with my 15-year investment in my blueberry planting. Because of the research we conducted, this year I'm looking at planting more raspberries, and I have a method developed through the research that we conducted so I can once again grow pesticide-free blueberries in 3.5 years of research, less than that actually. So all good research creates more questions and more opportunities. The New York State berry industry currently has a perfect storm of events happening that's created an unprecedented opportunity for the future. Between climate change affecting production in other parts of the country, new technology that can drastically lengthen the production season in New York State, increasing knowledge of the health benefits of berries, and the demand for local berries, I'm convinced that a strategic investment in the berry industry now can make New York State a leader in berry production. I feel strongly that the future is created by decisions and investments that we make today. So as a grower and president of the Berry Growers Association, I want to extend our heartfelt thanks to Senator Ritchie and the entire committee for seeing the potential in the New York State berry industry and deciding to make research and education investments today. Every single New Yorker in the Empire State can benefit from the berry crops that are grown here due to the health benefits, and I so look forward to working as a team to make this happen.
And our next speaker is Tony Emmy, who's also a berry grower.
Thank you, Senator Ritchie. I'd like to thank the Senator and the Ag Committee for our funding dollars for our research. And I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of how important berry crops are to a lot of farms in New York State. On my farm, and I would imagine on a lot of farms, it's a very small acreage. Berry crops are usually small acres, you know, a couple acres for you pick, or it could be 10 or 15 acres for wholesale. That only accounts on my farm for about 10 to 12% of my acreage, but it accounts for 25 to 30% of my gross sales, and that's the case on a lot of New York farms that are growing berries. Berry crops provide very important revenue stream for farms in New York State. Not only do farms provide jobs to our rural communities, but they also reinvest a lot of dollars in equipment sales, equipment dealerships, industries such as fuel, building, ag supplies, as well as parts and hardware. So the research that we're asking for, and that we're very thankful for the dollars in the past, is very important to our farms. Thank you.
And the last part of our proposal is expanding ag education, so it's only fitting that we have someone from FFA come up and speak to us. So we have with us Katie Killenbeck from South Jeff.
Hello. As Ms. Ritchie said, I'm Katie Killenbeck. I'm the South Jefferson FFA chapter president. And one question that a lot of people that aren't FFA advocates or members ask us is, why is it that you're so involved in this, and what is it that you like so much about it? Well, I have kind of a story to tell you about what it is that personally interests me so much in it. Back in like 8th and 9th grade, I was kind of a complacent person. I was pretty lazy, honestly. I didn't really get a lot done. I just sort of took what life gave to me and went with it. I didn't really do much with it. But at the urging of my father, who was a farm boy and a previous FFA member, he was very involved in it and he loved it. He pushed me a lot to involve myself in it, and so I did. So in the start of my 9th grade year, I enrolled in an ag class so that I could become an FFA member. And one of the requirements is a supervised agricultural experience project. So mine was working with horses, which I absolutely fell in love with, and I still work with it today, 4 years later. But the thing about my SAE project is it was a snowball effect for me. Once I got involved in this one activity, I kept finding myself involved in more and more and more, and soon I was involved in anything my chapter might have to offer. I soon found myself running for office in my chapter and coming to events such as this one, which are really influential. Other events that I've been to, such as the Washington Leadership Conference, I had the pleasure to attending a couple summers ago. I went down to the nation's capital and toured that, which was amazing. It was an incredible experience. Some of you definitely have gone to it, but for those of you who don't know, it's a massive leadership conference in D.C., and we took part in a major community service project where we packaged 80,000 meals for needy families in the D.C. area. Another thing that I like about FFA so much is that it gives me something that I can strive in. I'm personally a very competitive person, but I'm not very good at sports. I'm kind of a klutz, so sports aren't really my thing. So being an ag, I'm able to apply myself to something and get involved in many different things. And these different things are sort of eye-opening to me for career fields. I don't really know what I want to do when I grow up, so being able to sort of wet my feet in all these different career fields is definitely a very valuable experience for me, and it gives me a lot of different opportunities that I'm interested in. I've also come out of my shell a lot. Back as that little lazy 8th grader that I described earlier, I was very shy, and I never really spoke to people outside of my small friends group, and I would never have found myself speaking like this to anyone. So That has completely changed me by forcing me into opportunity or situations like that. I've had to reach out and make friends, which I now have friends all over the nation because of this incredible organization. And I find myself on speaking contests and speaking to a press conference right now, which is pretty cool. Above all, I really want to thank all of you for any support you give to us. It really means a lot to us, and it is the reason that we have people like this and transformations such as my own. So thank you very much.
So like I said earlier, pretty impressive kids they all are. And today I got a packet that there was a request from 40 other school districts looking to start their FFA program back up and running. So there is a lot of opportunity there. Now we're going to hear from a couple of my colleagues, and we'll start with Senator Funke.
Thank you. As somebody who had a small vegetable farm in my family, I know what it's like to pick sweet corn in the early morning dew and pick up potatoes in the hot sun and throw rotten tomatoes at my brothers. So I want to thank Senator Ritchie for her strong leadership and support of New York agriculture. My district is Monroe and Ontario counties. We have more than 1,300 farms in those two counties, so supporting our family farms is vitally important to me and my people in my district and across the state. We have 35,000 farms, so success on our family farms starts with making sure the state resources are available to promote our agriculture industry and also perform the vital research that will ensure that our farmers can successfully compete across the nation and across the world for that matter. Our conference, as Senator Flanagan said, has always been the leader in making sure that agriculture programs are fully funded. Each year we restore millions of dollars in funding for everything from Christmas trees to apples to programs that fight invasive species. These restorations to the governor's budget would simply not occur without the hard work of Senator Ritchie and Senate Republicans. The Planting Seeds program, which we're going to talk about, builds upon our already strong record by committing to reduce estate and personal income taxes on farmers and also to encourage new farmers to enter upstate's biggest economic sector, which is agriculture. Last year's first round of grants for the Young Farmers Initiative are already helping beginning farmers to buy seed, to buy equipment and supplies to help their businesses grow. And our plan for 2016 proposes a second round of these successful grants. This plan also includes a loan forgiveness program. That's for new farmers, and more money to increase participation in the Future Farmers of America program in our high schools. This is an innovative and forward-thinking plan that is not only good for farmers in rural parts of upstate New York, but will also ensure that fresh, healthy, locally grown food is available to every New Yorker from New York City to Rochester to Buffalo to Montauk Point. I want to again thank Senator Ritchie, and I look forward to working with her to ensure that these bills are adopted. Thanks very much, Senator.
Thank you. I'm Senator Tom O'Mara. Thank you, Senator Ritchie, Leader Flanagan, and all my colleagues that are here. Future Farmers of America, thank you for participating with us today. My district spans from Hornell to Ithaca, across the southern tier and the southern Finger Lakes region. And having Ithaca in my district means I have Cornell in my district. And the great work that Cornell has done for almost 150 years, being the nation's premier agriculture college in the country, leading the way in innovation, productivity, pest management, invasive species control. It's critically important that these programs continue here with the Geneva Experiment Station. The work that it has done for generations of farmers across New York and across the country, frankly, with the programs that have come out of there and the programs that we repeatedly have to refund in the budget process each year, with the executive taking them out. How important is agriculture to New York State? It's our #1 industry, as we say over and over again. So why does Governor Cuomo make $32 million worth of cuts to 42 programs in his executive budget? $32 million of cuts. You know, one of the leading industries in my district, in the southern Finger Lakes, is the wine and grape industry, and now the craft beverage industry. And I've always commended Governor Cuomo for his hard work in this craft beverage industry, which has really flourished through streamlining and reduction of regulations, streamlining of applications and permitting process, has caused the wine and grape, the winery industry, the microbrewery industry to grow. So why, Governor Cuomo, do you make a 30% cut to the Wine and Grape Foundation? Why do you make an 80% cut to the hops and barley research programs? These are growing industries across New York State. The district that I represent has the most wineries and the most microbreweries of any Senate district in the state. I've seen firsthand what these programs do to help with these industries. We need to do more for agriculture in this state, and this Senate Republican conference will do just that in the budget process going forward. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Senator Fred Akshar. I represent the Southern Tier. I'm the newest member of this great conference. I'm excited about the proposals in the Senate's Planting Seeds Plan. The Southern Tier region that I represent is among the most diverse in terms of agriculture in all of New York State. We account for 11% of farm sales in the state, and it's not just yogurt. About a third of my district is covered in farms, and payroll exceeds $14 million. There's almost 3,000 farms in my district, and if you put that together collectively, farming would be the biggest employer. Before I was elected, I had a wonderful opportunity to travel my district with Senator Ritchie, and we listened to farmers that were involved in the dairy industry and the berry industry and so on and so forth. And I'm pleased to say that this plan that's being announced today addresses issues that we heard about: high taxes, the need to support ag educators, and the need to support Cornell and the cutting-edge technology that they're involved in. I had an opportunity this morning to meet with about 25 of these very bright young men and women from FFA, and I have to say, I was inspired. You heard me say that this morning. I truly was. You are a remarkable group of people, remarkably intelligent. You're forward-thinking and you're visionaries. So I thank you for that. And I thank the people who stand with them. Michelle, thank you for bringing your students to my office this morning. I was truly inspired. So I'm pleased today to support this legislation and support our hardworking farmers. And I'm very pleased to see once again that this majority conference is once again leading on an issue that's so crucial to our upstate economy. Thank you very much.
So here in New York, we're extremely fortunate. We have Cornell. We have young people who are interested in the agriculture industry, and we have hardworking farmers all across the state. So we have amazing potential, but missing is making sure that we have the resources in place. So before I take some questions, once again, I want to thank the Leader Flanagan, all my colleagues standing with me time and time again to make sure that the resources in New York State are available to our research firms, to Cornell, to our farmers to be able to take advantage of that, and to our young folks who want to make sure that those programs stay in place and expand so we have the interest in moving our #1 industry forward. So with that, if anyone has any questions, we'll answer those now.
Concerns raised about the milk market right now, which I understand is kind of on the downswing after it was doing relatively well. Any concerns being raised or anything the state can do on that issue?
Well, that is a federal issue, and that is something that concerns many of our farmers because their bottom line is tighter than it was, and that's why it makes it even more important that we have these programs in place that helps them be able to compete in a global market. Okay.
Of the cuts in Cuomo's budget, Senator O'Mara hinted at some, but is there a dollar figure? Are we talking more than $100 million?
$32 million was the figure I quoted.
And then you said something about $80 million?
Excuse me?
$32 million is the total cuts?
Those are the cuts to 42 different programs.
42 programs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I think it's actually $12 million to 42 different programs. So this year, but over the past, Senator O'Mara is right that each and every year, this is what we come down to, that we talk about agriculture being our #1 industry, and over again, when we try to expand on it, we have to start by filling in the holes from the budget that's put out. So it's important to note that not only over the past number of years with the programs we've put forward have we restored those cuts, we've been able to expand on it, and it's been a priority for all of us here.
Do
Do you expect the GMO bill to be an issue again this year? And what do you think after talking to farmers? What would that do to the industry?
You know, GMOs is another issue that continually comes up, but it's like many others. It's very important that we hear both sides of the issue, and it's something we'll continue to talk about. Okay, thank you, everyone.